Arsenal are still top of the league. After a night I was at Sunderland last night, Gary, and I'd forgotten, I haven't been there for 9 years.
Yeah.
What a fabulous thing they've got there. It's a great football stadium. Their people are so invested in that team. They were terrific, and they took points from Arsenal. I presume you saw most of the action.
I saw most of it before I went and watched Richard Ashcroft. I didn't see the final goal, but I can imagine, obviously I've seen it since. Brilliant for Sunderland. I thought it would be awkward for Arsenal. I don't think there's any... You're not going to have it all your own way during a season. They've been sensational, Arsenal, in this last 6 to 8 weeks. But that was a game that always had a little bit of a sort of banana skin around it. It just felt that way. You know, Sunderland, the way in which they set up defensively, they're very well organised. They've got a real threat going forward. They've got a momentum in the stadium. The fans are with them. They're back in the Premier League. And, you know, I remember going up to Sunderland. I remember going to Roker Park and playing, let alone the Stadium of Light. And, you know, when it's rocking up there, it truly does rock. And they've done brilliantly this season. The first game of the season, I was massively impressed with them in that performance against West Ham. And I know West Ham have had a challenge at the start of this season. But the right sort of attributes, the right sort of principles of a team coming up, being hard to beat, being physical, running forward with real sort of aggression and sort of meaning and power at all. Watching Arsenal get a point there at Sunderland yesterday and thinking in any way, shape or form that I'm surprised. In fact, in my predictions earlier on in the week on the podcast, I said I thought it would be a draw. So I'm not sort of rewriting history after the game. I genuinely thought this could just be a game that might just catch them out a little bit and cause them a problem. And they've conceded 2 goals. They've conceded a goal in the last minute. That'll hurt them because they're a proud team defensively and they're a great side defensively. But they've got to accept that then just, you know, it's a Premier League, it's a marathon, not a sprint, and there are going to be some bumps along the way. And I just think that was one of the bumps that you get. You know, the main thing is when you get a bump like that, obviously they're not going to be able to get straight back on the bike because obviously they've got an international break. But I wouldn't be in any way, shape or form putting that down to anything other than what normally happens in a Premier League season. That thing that you would say to yourself is, you know, did you expect to win every single match? No team does that. You should feel like that, but it's important that when they come back in a couple of weeks, they get after that 3 points and win the next game.
The other big winners at the top end this...
And streets ahead of Liverpool. They're now within 4 points of Arsenal. That gap being reduced, Arsenal drawing last night at Sunderland, and just the overall dominance of City this afternoon. Would you be nervously looking over your shoulder?
I think Arsenal will be nervous because of it's Man City. And they've done this to them twice before. Twice in the last 3 years, Manchester City have come from behind and caught Arsenal. And also the manner of the victory today. That first half performance with Man City was a little bit like, oh, you know, they're playing Liverpool. Liverpool are the champions. They absolutely took them the cleaners. And I think on the back of Arsenal dropping points against a promoted team who are doing absolutely fantastically well in the Premier League, Sunderland, they'll have been hoping for a draw. They'll have seen City's not just win, but performance, and probably getting a few flashbacks to what's happened the last couple of times when they felt they had a great chance at a title. And it might be a long 2 weeks thinking and worrying about Manchester City for Arsenal supporters and players.
And genuinely, that plays into the psychology then, because it's not like, say, there's a midweek Premier League game or even just one next weekend where you reset and go again. It's 2 weeks to think about it.
Yeah, and that's the problem with international break when you don't have a great result. There's a long time to think about it. I still think Arsenal are the best team I've seen in this league this season, no doubt, but there's an awful long way to go. And there's no doubt because Arsenal haven't won the league for so long.
In a moment, but Julian had a very brief, but he still knows what it's like to put on a Sunderland shirt at the Stadium of Light. I mean, what a performance they've put in all season, particularly at home, and they're in the top 4.
I know, yeah. Performances, like you said, it's not just yesterday. They've been outstanding, very difficult place to go, very intense atmosphere, and as long as they can keep that momentum there throughout the season, that will be the fortress for them and play a massive part in them hopefully staying in the league.
And they've shown some unbelievable character already, but none more so than to come back against Arsenal, who'd won 10 in a row.
Yeah, they've showed it all season. I think you need that. You need that positivity. You need that kind of bounce, you know, coming into the league and things to go your way and fight and scrap for things. And, you know, most people would have written them off. Arsenal coming back, looking strong, looking solid, 2-1 up, probably cruise to a win and move on. But fair play to Sunderland, you know, they never give up. A late goal, another point, keeps ticking that points tally up, and keeps the momentum up. And the stadium was the energy and the as I said, the bounce in the stadium, and big goal for them to carry that into the international break on a high.
And just to put it into perspective, Sunderland scoring 2 against Arsenal, who hadn't conceded in all competitions for 13 and a half hours.
Exactly, it puts it into perspective. I mean, Arsenal's strength really is their defence, isn't it? They've got a great goalkeeper, really good back four. They protect the back four well as well. They play to their strengths and they don't concede many goals. So for a newly promoted team to score 2 goals against them is a brilliant achievement. And who'd have thought that? I mean, the last 6 teams...
The centre forward in this game, but they look better equipped, don't they? Ødegaard's been out most of the season to cope with missing players.
Yeah, they've got good balance, they've got good depth. I still think it's almost sparring season in terms of still got the head guard on and the big...
It's theirs to lose at the moment?
I mean, possibly. They are a fair few points ahead. I mean, listen, you ask anybody, I think they'd probably say Arsenal are the favourites at the moment. So, yeah, it's going to take a good effort to beat them, because I can't see them dropping too many points. They're very efficient, aren't they? I mean...
Does that bring its own pressures when everyone's now in the past, they haven't been expected. They've been chasing Liverpool and City. Does it bring its own pressure when you're out there to be shot at?
New for them as well.
It is, it is.
New ground.
But I think the way they play is a certain... You know, they're so efficient. Like, if Arsenal play at their very, very best and Liverpool play at the very, very best and Manchester City, I think Arsenal probably still third best. You know, when everybody's at their absolute best. Yeah, I mean, Liverpool can blow anyone off the pitch, and so can Manchester City when they're absolutely on top level. Whereas Arsenal, I can see them not really making many mistakes, grinding away, maybe a few draws, obviously a few wins as well. But just their style of play might just make them plug on